Okay.
Awesome. All right. Good evening, everyone. I hope your day has gone well. My name is 𝐂𝐎𝐍𝐍𝐄𝐓, and this is the module for called wireframing for BAs, right? And it's going to be a walkthrough of Balsamiq. Balsamiq is going to be the tool that we're going to use for wireframing. There are loads of different tools for wireframing. So I'm going to explain what the concept is, and we're going to walk through the Balsamiq tool. My name is 𝐂𝐎𝐍𝐍𝐄𝐓. I am a BA, business analyst, and a product owner. Okay, so I really hope you get value out of the class. So, what we're going to talk about today is the introduction, just overview. I'm going to explain what is wireframing. I always specify that this is wireframing for BAs because there's wireframing for UI and UX designers, user interface and user experience um, designers. There's wireframing for web designers. There are wireframing for lots of other people. Architects use wireframing. A lot of people use wireframing. So I'm going to specifically talk about wireframing for business analysts and how we use it in the work we do. So obviously, this is a short class, an hour and a half. So I'm sure you're going to want to do additional research regarding wireframing and all the concepts you've been learning. When you're researching, make sure you pull up wireframing for business analysts. If you don't, it'll probably take you to wireframing for designers, and you don't, that's not you, that's not what you need it for. Okay, so we're going to talk about the key components and benefits. And then, like I said, the tool we're using, there are loads of different tools for wireframing. The tool we're using for this course is called Balsamiq, right? So I'm going to introduce it to you and show you and give you a practical understanding of how to use it. You should already have access to it because your emails have been shared. Thank you so much to your SM Okwe, and you have all been given access to it. So I'm going to walk through that tool with you. And then once you're done, you're going to, we're going to have a take home task, obviously. But once you're done, then you're going to need to start creating wireframes for the different user stories that you're working on. Okay. And I'm going to explain why. So, like every other thing we document, because we BAs always document, don't fall in love with your first draft, okay? Wireframes are supposed to be editable, they're supposed to be refined. You keep refining it based on your understanding. So you create a wireframe, you share it, it gets refined, you update it, and all of that. So don't feel bad when people tell you, oh, you need to change anything in your wireframe, okay? So that's my tip. Okay, so what is wireframing? Wireframing is creating a picture or a visual representation of the software application or the website that you're working on. How is it arranged? What does it look like? Yeah. Um, how are things positioned on the site? Because again, it's a software application and it's always from the user's perspective. So we know a lot of work goes on behind the scenes, but how does the user on that web application or that software application, how do they interact with it? That's usually what the wireframe is supposed to show, right? So it's visual. A lot of what we do is text based, but this is a visual representation of all of that. So again, you know, when they tell you that a picture is worth 1,000 words, that's what this is. So you have think of your user story, you have your description where you're doing your, this is what I want to achieve. You have your acceptance criteria, then you have your visual representation, you have your image of what that story is supposed to look like. So if, for example, you're writing a story of the landing page or the home page, and you're saying, okay, the logo has to be here on the left side, the home button has to be on the right side, and then this and all of that. So you have a visual representation of everything you've just described in your user story. Okay. And it helps um people, the developers, the QAs understand the layout and the architecture of that application. So that way, if there are going to be any issues, people can identify it very quickly and resolve it, or people just know how to build what they need to build. And like I said, the third part of this class is going to be introducing you to Balsamiq. Balsamiq is a very quick wireframing tool. Okay. And that's because it's low fidelity. It's called a lo-fi tool. It looks like you're drawing with a pencil. It looks like a sketch. So it's very low fidelity. If you're looking at this screen now, you can see colors, you can see all kinds of different things. Balsamiq is not like that. Balsamiq is very quick. I just want you to do a sketch of what this thing looks like. So it's almost like black and white, like a pencil drawing. Like I said, I'll show you. So it's very quick. You can create it very, very quickly, amend it very, very quickly. And that's why it's such a very, very good tool. Okay. So we're exploring the concept of wireframing, and using Balsamiq to create wireframes so that you can properly plan with your project team and make sure that you communicate the right information to them as to what to develop and what to test. There's going to be I'm going to stop periodically for questions and answers. If you have any questions, write them down, or you can even let me know, right? Because I can't really see I can't see your hand if you're holding it up. So get comfortable with unmuting and saying, "Oh, Uzo, sorry to interrupt you. I have a question." Or if I ask, "Does anyone have a question?" and you do, please just go ahead and unmute and go ahead with it, because I can't see you if you're lifting up your hands. Cool. So what exactly is this wireframing thing that we're talking about? Okay. So wireframe is part of the process of developing websites or web applications and software applications. Okay. I've explained that it's a low fidelity tool. It's a visual tool, and it's from the user's perspective. It gives you a blueprint of what the final product should look like, how everything is laid out, how everything is arranged. Okay. And it's used by developers, designers to strategically plan out what the structure of the user's digital experience looks like. How will the user interact with this application? Okay. So why do we use wireframing? Yeah. It helps you define what the system functionality looks like. So if, for example, you're talking about the fact that if I click on a button, yeah, when a user clicks on the home, let me pick another button, the About Us button on the header, a page opens up and the user is able to see this and this and this information. You can represent that with an image to show this is the page. Does someone have a question? If not, could you mute so the background noise doesn't interrupt the class? Thank you. Okay, so you're basically defining what the system looks like before anybody starts developing anything, because you don't want a situation where the developer has put in the hard work to develop and you come there and you see it and you say, "Oh, no, 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 this is not what it looks like. Can you move this here? Can you move that there?" The person's like, "Why didn't you tell me that before? I have to rework this thing again." And that's never fun. It happens sometimes. You may not be able to avoid it for some reasons, but let the reason not be for lack of communication, which you can easily solve using a wireframe. And it bridges the gap between the business and the technical team. When your business stakeholder says, "This is what I want," the technical team is like, "How do you want it to be designed? How do you want it to be arranged? Show me what it looks like." So from the documentation is part of the documentation of that requirement from the business team, and you're actually creating a wireframe so the technical team understands exactly what they're doing. No ambiguity, no miscommunication. I just talked about miscommunication. Okay, so it shows you what the user interface framework looks like. If there are any issues because sometimes even though the business wants something in a particular way, by the time you see it in a wireframe, it could be obvious that that thing doesn't really look good there. I know you said you wanted this particular feature to be in this particular corner, but if you put it in this corner, the user won't be able to use it. They won't be able to see it. So can't we move it somewhere? So all the planning and movement and reorganization is done via wireframe, rather than someone spends time to develop something and then you're not moving it all around. So it saves time. It shows you any issues early so you can resolve it before anything is done. It's a really important tool, and you use it to get stakeholder approval. Remember, the requirements are not yours, they belong to the stakeholder, right? Your product owner, whoever is giving you the requirements. So when they've given you the requirements and you've documented it, you use the wireframe to verify that what you think you should be doing is actually what you should be doing. So once you get that stakeholder approval, you make sure that everything is aligned, it's developed, the stakeholder is happy because what you told them you're going to build is everybody is on the same page. There's alignment. Very important. Okay. The wireframes here in BlueSky, right? Because we focus a lot on web application projects, software application, e-commerce projects. A lot of the projects we deliver are software projects or web application projects, right? So wireframing forms part of the DOD and DOR. What is DOD and what is DOR? Is your definition of ready and your definition of done. I know that you're currently working on your team charter as a project team, a new project team. I'm sure the Scrum Masters have told you as a team, we need to work on our team charter, all of that. So everyone's involved in it. Part of that needs to be the definition, your team's definition of what the definition of ready is and definition of done. There are many different definitions, but your team has to agree. And what the definition of ready is what criteria does every user story need to meet before it's accepted into a sprint? And here in BlueSky, it usually includes, almost always includes a wireframe. So if your user story does not have a wireframe, it's not ready to be committed into sprint. So there are many different things that people use to create their definition of ready. But the last bit is it has to include the right artifacts, the right content, and part of that is the wireframe. Same thing with your definition of done. Definition of done is the criteria that the user story needs to meet for you to say this thing is done. We have finished with this story. We're done with it. It's done, done, done. That's it. We've moved it into sprint. It's been developed. It's been tested. UAT has been done on it. We're done. That's your definition of done. And a wireframe is part of that because in validating that you've completed what that story says, you've done everything, you need the wireframe as your visual representation. Does what we have here, the what do they call it now? What we have developed, does it match the wireframe? If the answer is yes, then it's done. If the answer is no, then it goes back to the developer. This thing is not properly done. We're not ready to accept it as a complete story because it doesn't match the wireframe. So as part of your team task, I'm pretty sure that, oh, sorry about that. I think there's supposed to be, it's the second one. I beg your pardon. Okay. So it's the second one. So yes. So again, where does wireframe frame fit? I just explained it. It forms part of your definition of ready to make sure that there's no ambiguity. Everybody's happy before development even starts, before that story is accepted into the sprint. And you make sure that it matches what is delivered, right? So wireframes, like I said, it makes sure that there is no rework, or it reduces your rework and makes sure that the stakeholder is the handover is easy. You're able to say, I have delivered what it is that you've asked us to do, right? So part of your take-home task, like I said, is to agree and document your team's DOR and DOD as part of your team charter. Okay? It has to include wireframes. If your project is here in BlueSky, it's not optional. It's part of what we do. So I'm already giving you a bit of expo to know that your DOD and your DOR has to, and it's again part of your team charter. So always make sure if you have a checklist for DOR and it doesn't meet it, that story is not ready for sprint. And if you have a checklist for DOD and that user story doesn't meet it, then you can't say that it's complete. So it's a guide. It helps guide the work that you're doing, and that's one of the reasons it's very important. All right, so the purpose and components of a wireframe. I've already talked about this. I'm repeating a lot of things because this is your first time hearing it. So they say repetition is the law of deep and lasting impression. So I want to keep repeating things in many different ways so that it'll stick. And no matter how I do it, there's only so much information you can take in at a particular point. So please, um, this class, my classes are usually very text heavy because I know you're going to record it. So even as you're recording it, you take in that information, what I'm saying, the text that is here, and even your own research as well. I encourage you to do additional research because there's no way we can go through everything in the time that we have. So again, like I said, the purpose is that it aligns the structure of your application, what it looks like, the functionality, but it doesn't give um detail. Remember, it's a sketch. It's like a blueprint. Have you ever seen the blueprint of a house? It tells you where the walls would be. It doesn't tell you how the house is decorated. It just tells you this is the structure. This is how things are arranged. This is where the kitchen will be. This is how it will look. This is where the door will be. So it's giving you the framework, but it's not giving you the details. So you want to add color, you want to add carpet, you want to add. That's not what this is. It's a blueprint, okay? And then it communicates the idea of the stakeholder very, very clearly to the development team. Okay, so they are able to see and understand what is needed. And again, it helps validate your requirements. So your PO has given you requirements, and you go and you create a wireframe. You take it back to the PO to say, does this match what you have in mind, what the requirement is? And the PO says, okay, let's make a few changes. Remember, don't fall in love with your first draft. We're changing this here, we're changing that there, move this, take this away. I'm happy with this. And then that's what you add into your user story and it forms part of it. Okay. And again, it's obviously a very important tool for design and prototyping, which are a key part of requirements, elicitation, and development, and that entire software development lifecycle. Okay. So the components include the layout, right? How is everything arranged? All the different elements on the page, how are they arranged? How does the user move around? Remember, I click this is opened, is a footer, I scroll down to the footer, this is how it's arranged. All of that. How does the user move? Remember, it's from the user's perspective, not from the developer's perspective, not from the PO's perspective. Whoever is going to use that application, you create a wireframe from that user's perspective. And it has all your content, all your placeholder text. We're saying placeholder text because it doesn't have real text. It just has squiggles, lines. Sometimes you see people that are bringing in text. Why are you bringing in text? That's not what it is. Remember, we're not carpeting it, we're not decorating it. We just want to show what the structure is. So if there's going to be text here, we'll just have an element that says text is going to be here, but we're not going to actually put that actual text there, right? So then it has media, other things, and it tells you the functionality of the page. Okay. So moving on, the wireframe. Before we move on, I want to make it very clear because this is what a lot of people have a problem with. when you take an image of something, right? What you see in the image is what is the thing. The image is not the thing. You take a selfie of yourself. That photograph is not you, but it represents you. So if you wear glasses, your image will have glasses. If you have a blue shirt, the image will have blue shirt. If you have a particular hairstyle, that image is going to have that hairstyle. The image cannot have glasses if the main thing doesn't have glasses. If you're wearing a black shirt, the image cannot be purple unless there's whatever. The image has to match the actual requirement. So make sure that everything that is in your wireframe is part of your story. There must be a documented what do they call it? The requirement must be documented in your user story as part of either as part of the acceptance criteria before it can form part of your wireframe. So don't put anything in your wireframe that is not in your acceptance criteria, and don't put anything in your acceptance criteria and it's not represented in the wireframe. The two have to match, because the wireframe is the visual representation of what is in your acceptance criteria. So bear that in mind. Don't have all kinds of, because the wireframe cannot be tested. What is tested is your acceptance criteria. So if you put all the detail in your wireframe, the QAs are just looking at you like, I don't understand what you're doing. How can I test that this story is fit for purpose? So everything has to be in your acceptance criteria. All this arrangement you're talking about, if you have the logo on the left side, you have to put the logo is on the left side. If you have different things on the footer, it's arranged in columns. You write the footer is arranged in columns, and these are the different things in those columns. Once you put it in acceptance criteria, then feel free to put it in your wireframe. All right, moving right along. Anyone has any questions before we move to the wireframing process? Are we good so far? Any questions, feel free to unmute and ask. I will take silence as that everything is good. Cool. All right. So going to the wireframing process itself, right? So the wireframe is made up of different elements because your application is made up of different elements. So each element should be mapped to identify what the user needs and what your business requirements are. That's the traceability I was just talking about, right? Each requirement has to have the visual representation of it. Don't add anything that's not necessary. Please don't do that. Don't anything that is not part of the requirement. Some people create wireframes and they almost feel like it's a license to be artistic. It's not. It's a pencil sketch. So every line, every image, everything has to be part of the requirement. If it's not there, it's extra. Please take it away. It's not needed. It will confuse the developer, and then you won't be able to test it because the developer thinks that that thing should be there and it's not part of your acceptance criteria. It's not part of the requirement. So always make sure that it represents what is in your acceptance criteria. All right. In order to create good wireframes, you have to have a very good understanding of the requirements. So you're listening to your BAs. Sometimes you're listening to the PO and you're just listening to the PO. As they're giving you the requirements, start picturing what they are telling you about, because this is going to be a real application that users are going to actually interact with. So when they tell you the logo should be on the left, start picturing it, because by the time you do that, you need to create the visual representation of it. So if you have any question at that point, when they tell you, oh, this is how this thing is arranged, you're like, oh, can I ask a question? Why is this here? Is it not better if it's here? And they'll tell you, oh, yeah, that's a good idea. Or, oh, no, that is where we want it. So interact. Don't, as BAs, we ask questions. We ask questions. That's why we can go into any domain or business or industry and we can do well, because even though it's something we're not familiar with, we ask questions, we understand what exactly is required, and we make sure that the requirements match the acceptance criteria, which match the wireframe. so you understand what the scope is, what the objective is. I've already told you that this is a sketch, so it's called low fidelity, okay? And then there's a review process, and then you go for review. They tell you, okay, change this, add this. You come back again, you iterate that process. You go back again. They could tell you, oh, could you change this again? However many times it's necessary. Usually it's not that many, once or twice. I was working on this is another visual representation, so it's not exactly this a process map. We're going to also teach you process mapping, but you have many different stakeholders who come together, and they're all telling you what it should look like. So once I'm done with that, I send it back. Then you have one stakeholder who responds, and you know I make those corrections or those amendments. Then you have another one, and you have another. So it almost seems like I've been amending this thing for a long time, but not necessarily. It's just that everybody is identifying something different. So when they're coming back to you, it looks like you've been working on that same, visual representation for a while, but you guys are only working with one product owner. So you're so blessed. Let me put it that way. You're really, it's a good thing to have one major. Obviously there are a lot of different stakeholders, but when it comes to this process, to only have one person you're interacting with, it's really good. Most of the time you have multiple people, and they're all going to give you what their take is, so you can go back a number of different times, just making those corrections and going back to say, are you good now? Is it okay now? I've made the amendment. Are you fine with it? Is this approved? Because that's the word. They're not even just saying, are you fine with it? Could you review and approve? If they review and they have anything to tell you, then you make the change. I've made the changes. Does it work? Could you now approve it? We need to approve it by this time. So you always want to get that approval from your product owner or from your key stakeholder, because that's really important. And then here you have high fidelity wireframes. The same way we have low fidelity wireframes, there are high fidelity wireframes. We're not going to go into that because that's where you come into applications like Figma. I don't know how many of you have heard of Figma. There are a number of others as well, where they want to show the exact representation of what the application looks like. So if it's blue, they want it to be blue. If there's text, they want the text to show. They want everything to be there. So that's high fidelity. We want it to be the exact thing is going to look like. That's different from what we're doing here. We only want low fidelity. Just give me a pencil sketch. I don't want detail. Just create what it looks like with a pencil. Show me this is where the logo is. You don't have to put the real logo. Just put an X there to say this is what the logo looks like, or a box or something. So that's the difference between what high fidelity and low fidelity. So Balsamic is purely a low fidelity tool. It can do a lot, but people don't really use it for all of that. They just want a sketch and they're just happy with it. So we are talking about Balsamic low fidelity. I just talked about Figma, which is used by designers. It's a main user interface or user experience design platform, right? So it's real time, it's as real as it looks real. And this is like a black and white image. That one is a full colored, you know, representation and all of that. Then you have Adobe XD, Sketch, InVision. People use Miro. There's so many tools, right? So these are loads of tools that I use for wireframing. But like I said, here we use Balsamic, and that's what I'm going to show you. That's what I'm going to show you. The I'm going to show you like the practical uses of how you use Balsamic. Okay, so wireframing focuses on the user, right? How exactly does the user interact with this application? What are the pain points? What are the issues a user would come across? Maybe there's a particular button that doesn't the way it's arranged doesn't really work. If I'm a user, this thing will cause me a bit of a hassle? Can we not move this thing somewhere else? Can we not design this thing in such a way that the user is, best served, right? So you always focus on it. Very simple. That's why you can turn it around very quickly, because you're only creating a sketch. There's no need to import images, the real images, and input text. All that is not necessary. You just want something that is clean, clear, very easy to understand, very easy to navigate. Okay. And obviously, you need to get feedback from your key stakeholder. The person who gave you the requirement is the person that's going to refine and approve the wireframe. Okay. So be consistent. Normally, on most um, projects, except it's a massive project, yeah, most projects have one BA. You're all learning. So even though you're three or you're four, you form one BA. But when you get a job, it's usually going to be just one BA on the roll. And that means that you're the only one creating wireframes. So it's easy to be consistent, right? Because if you say the home page looks a particular way, this is how the header will look, this is how the footer will look, this is how the body will look. When you move over to the About Us page, think of any website you normally use. You move over to the About Us page, the header and the footer usually is still there. It looks the same, it doesn't move. What will move is the content on the page, the body. So if you're on the home page, you see certain things. If you go to About Us page, you see certain things. If it's an e-commerce site and you go to the shopping pages, you see many different things. But the header and the footer is consistent. So in your wireframe, you maintain that consistency. You don't start shifting things because now I'm creating a wireframe of the landing page and I'm now creating a landing page for the privacy policy. Then I'm moving the header or I'm moving the footer. No, in a real website, those things don't move. They are static. So you have to be consistent. When you've gotten that feature approved, you make sure it's consistent. Now, because you are there are many BAs here, that's even more important. All of you need to learn, all of you need to practice, all of you need to understand how to use this tool. But remember, you're still working on one project. So if Esther creates a header and it's approved by the PO, when Chidi is creating his header, he cannot just go and create a new header and take it back to the PO and say, okay, I have a new design. We've agreed on what the header looks like. So going forward, that's what the header looks like, regardless of if it's Ebele that created it or Louis or Esther. You guys work as one BA, and that consistency is even more important now that there are multiple people that now. So just pay attention to consistency. When something is designed and it's approved, as you're moving over to the next design, you take that design with you. You make sure you replicate it for the next stage so that we're not having to do the work twice. Okay. And then you prototype and you test. Okay. So once you've created the wireframe, then you can now use that to develop or create a prototype that will validate what that wireframe actually looks, how it looks and what it does. And you test to make sure that it meets the quality that is needed for that particular application. So we're continuing with the wireframe process. Again, each requirement needs to map to the user needs. Okay. If you look at the image here, you see a very quick rundown of what makes an effective wireframe versus an ineffective wireframe. Your effective wireframe is clear. It's not cluttered. We know where everything is. Every element there, we know what it represents. Okay. It's focused on what that page is about. So if you have a wireframe about the footer, yeah, we have to know that even though this wireframe is maybe the whole page, we're focused on the footer. Some people will actually just crop out everything else and just give you a wireframe of just the footer or just the header. But even if you choose not to do that, you have to make sure that your wireframe is focused on what the story is about. And if your story has multiple pages, so I click here, this page is displayed, and I click here and this form is displayed, and I click here. For every page you go to, you have to have the corresponding wireframe. You can't just say, oh, this is just one wireframe. Meanwhile, your acceptance criteria has said, oh, the user will click on the About Us button, then the About Us page will open, and then they'll click on Contact Us, and then the Contact Us page, and then they'll click on Login, and the login form comes, and they put in their login, and they click on Submit, and when they click on Submit, this one opens. For every scenario you discuss, you have to have the corresponding wireframe in as part of that story. So each wireframe has to be focused on what the story is about. It's hierarchical, right? If you're creating a header, then why are you showing me the image of the footer? We don't know what the footer looks like. We haven't created a footer yet. So you're creating a wireframe based on the development that is going on. If we haven't gotten to what the login button looks like or the payment page looks like, why are you showing me a wireframe of what the payment page looks like? We don't know what it looks like at this point. So you're building on each wireframe, you're building on each wireframe, you're building on each wireframe. If you've created a header, you don't need to create it again. Build on the image or the wireframe of the header you already have, right? Add all the different elements. Don't start recreating everything. It'll be a waste of time. Okay? It's consistent, it's annotated, you have feedback on it. Okay, your ineffective wireframes are too detailed. That's not what this is. We don't want all the bells and whistles. We just want a simple sketch. It's inconsistent. In one wireframe, this is how things are arranged in a vertical way. In the next wireframe, you've put it horizontally. Why? How is this the same website? Well, the website looks a particular way. You can't switch elements. Once it's arranged and it's been approved a particular way, that's how it's going forward, unless you get feedback to the contrary. Okay? Lacking context. Even if you're using an image or a box to specify that this is an image, you write what that thing there is. So let's say you have a box that signifies what the logo is. Write that that's the logo. Because how am I supposed to know what that image is? You have a box that says this is the banner image. I'm not going to go and import the actual image. I don't have it. But I want this to be a placeholder to say that the banner image will be here. This is how this thing, on the shopping page, all the different products will be arranged in a particular way. You don't have the images of what you're selling at that point. So you have boxes that show the image. Write what those boxes are. So your designer will know that when you see this box, this is the logo. When you see this box, this one is the banner image. When you see this box, this is what it is. So you have to make sure that there's context to your wireframe, and don't fixate on any particular thing, and make sure you always write from the user's perspective. Okay, so again, in summary, to create a good wireframe, you have to understand what the requirement is. You're not making it up. You don't assume. You get the requirements from your PO. If there's any detail, you had a requirements elicitation session, and they gave you information. Then when you were creating or writing your story, you found out that they hadn't given you a particular information you need for that story. You don't just say, oh, well, I don't have this information. No, you go back to the PO and say, okay, while we were having the meeting, it didn't occur to me to ask you this question. I have a follow-up question to ask you. That's all it is. Okay, could you explain what this is? Could you give me this information? When I was in the meeting with you, I didn't know that. When I took took it away to document, I realized that this particular information was missing. Could you tell me what this is? You have your product owner in your hub. So even if it's right after your elicitation session or a day before, you don't wait, okay, the next time we're going to meet, I'm going to tell them. Days are passing. As you're writing the user story, that's why yesterday I was telling you, why isn't someone asking the PO about this thing right now? You don't just wait. You're proactive. So make sure that you understand the requirements. If you have any questions, you ask. You never assume and you don't keep quiet. You don't say, okay, well, they didn't tell me, so it must not be important. No. If something occurs to you that you don't have the information for, ask, get that information. That's what a BA does. Okay. And we've talked about sketching, we've talked about review and iteration. Cool. Now we're going to be specific. Remember, I told you that we're going to be talking about what the actual tool we're going to be using, because this is a practical internship. So while we're done talking, we're now going to go to the actual tool which you're going to use to create your wireframes. And again, it's called Balsamic. As you can see, there's a way it's spelled. So make sure you pronounce it the right way and you write it the right way. So these things are important. So, what is Balsamic? It's very simple. It's hand drawn. It's a web application, but it looks hand drawn. It looks like someone is drawing, with a pencil. So it just gives you that user interface like a sketch rather than something that is, fully detailed. It's very easy to use. It's intuitive. I normally use Balsamic periodically when I need it. Sometimes it's for these classes, sometimes the projects I'm working on, I have to create wireframes. But almost every time I go back to it, they've made additional improvements. I went in there and I'm looking at their AI component. They've moved things around, all those sorts of things. So we'll probably have to play around a lot. But once you know how to do it, you know how to do it. To be honest with you, that's most of these tools are like that. Tools come out all the time. But when you know how to use a wireframing tool, you know how to use a wireframing tool, regardless of which one it is. It's usually the same concept. They're always a bit different, but always quite similar. Okay, so once you learn one, you've learned, you can pick up, and even if you need to pick up something, you're picking it up because you're not learning as a novice. You already know one tool, so it's easy to pick up another one. So this is very easy to use. To be honest with you, it's quick. It's really, really quick. You almost find that sometimes it becomes so quick when you're learning it the first time. Obviously, you're learning something new, so you're still trying to navigate and see how everything works. But once you start using it regularly, because all your stories will need wireframes. So if you have 10 stories, you have 10 wireframes. So you're going to become very, very familiar with this tool. And you find that sometimes while your PO is making corrections, you're literally just making the correction there and then. And once they finished, you're just, okay, could you check it? It's so quick. You may not even have to go chere where let me go and come back. No, just wait and collect. Come and just as you're talking, I've made the change. Here you go, here you go, here you go. Is this what you're looking for? Could you approve it? Approved. Just put it in your wireframe, save and close, bing bang boom, you're happy. Okay, so it's very quick wireframe. And again, the emphasis is on the user experience always. If you're creating a wireframe that is not from the user's perspective, it's not a good one. So the key features of Balsamic, comes with it has a huge library of different UI components. Again, UI is user interface. So a lot of times you don't even have to import. There are some people that do, but you don't really have to import anything. Almost everything you need is in the library. It has so many different elements, more than you'll ever need. The library is so huge. It has buttons, menus, images. We're going to explore all of that. You can make notes, you can add comments. So it's very good when it comes to collaboration. Really, really very good. Most of the time, your PO or your team members may not have access to Balsamic, so they will tell you what to do. But a lot of other teams that use Balsamic all collaborate on the same tool. So you have like a project space and you have a lot of different people apart from BAs there. So even though the BA is the one creating it, the PO can go and make a note on it to say, I've looked at this wireframe. Could you move this here, move this here, move this here? The way we are structured here, the BA will show the balsamic tool to the PO, and then the PO will just make verbal comments, and then you can change it. But in a lot of project teams, everyone has access to that same project space, and rather than waiting for you, they'll just put a note there. So when you come and you're notified that you have a note, you come and check it, you see the note, you make the amendment. You can even drop another note to say, I've made the amendment, could you check it out? Once they do that, you're good to go. Again, very collaborative features. So like I said, allows multiple team members to work in simultaneously in real time, and you can track changes and you can see all the different revisions that are being made. Okay, so it's very comprehensive, and it simplifies the process. That's why we like balsamic. We've been using balsamic for years, and we really like it. Even after the internship in the advanced program, that's what we all use as well. It works really well. Okay, so some key terms and definitions, just a few. Um, Once we're done, I'll show you the site and I'll show you where you can continue learning. There are loads of YouTube videos. You can go on the Balsamic website itself. They have loads and loads and loads of tutorials. And every time they make improvements, they will tell you what they've done and how to use it. So these are just some tools. So you have the canvas, the white space that you use to create the wireframe. You have different controls. You have your inspector. You have asset symbols, all kinds of things, navigational tools. You can export. So obviously, if you have to add the wireframe to the story, you need to be able to export it from Balsamic onto Azure DevOps and attach it to your story. So it has that capability there. It's easy to work with. As BAs, we pay attention to detail. So a lot of the work we do has to be aligned, streamlined. It's not because we're doing a wireframe that our lines are lumpy, everything doesn't match. No, we pay attention to detail. It's easy to do undo. The normal actions you do on your system, your delete, your left, your right, it's very, very user friendly, right? Loads of panels, all of that. You can collaborate. It's a cloud-based application, so you can collaborate on it as well. So we're going to do a walkthrough, okay? I'm going to show you the new project space I've set up for you. Like I said, you guys should receive invites. You should have received invites to it. Accept the invite, go through the process, and enter the project space. So I'll show you about that. I'll show you about adding different components, what some of them do, how they look, how you can, do everything you need to do on there. Not everything, just a few things. The more you use it, the more you learn. So I'll just show you a few things to do there, some of the major things, and then, yeah. And we'll look at how to align elements. Alignment is good. Please don't create wonky wireframes. I beg of you, pay attention to detail, make sure everything looks good. Because remember, it's a visual representation of the site. So even though it's low fidelity, let it be properly arranged and aligned. Let it look good. Don't create wonky out of alignment wireframes. Take the extra time it takes to align all your elements and features so it looks good. Okay, the site makes it really easy to do. You can format it, you can add different styles, all those different things. There is the capability to add color. We don't usually add color, so styles and formatting is basically it. The Balsamic allows interactivity. It has some really, really good features that honestly we don't really explore a lot. Like I told you, if you're working on Balsamic, a lot of times project teams work together on Balsamic. So you can have a walkthrough of a website where you're actually clicking a button and a page opens. So it's not like you're saying, oh, this is the wireframe of the home page. When I click on the home page and this one opens and I click on this. On Balsamic, you can literally click on those buttons and the pages will open. It's set up that way for that kind of interactivity. Again, this is something you can learn. So, and when you get a job, and if that's a tool you use there, you can say you're very, very proficient in using Balsamic. But even the way we use it is still really, really good. but there's an extra. There's always extra. There's always more. So, guys, don't just be happy with these 1 hour, 2 hour tutorials. Take your time and learn more about these tools as well and get familiar with them. Then this is, like I said, the site itself has a whole library of videos you can learn from, and they have a YouTube channel, and there's so many creators on YouTube and on online. It's a very popular tool. So you're always going to find a lot of material. I think Udemy even has like a free course on it. Like it's very well known, and there are loads and loads and loads of materials used. But again, even UI and UX designers use it. So when you're searching, make sure you always add business analysis. A lot of the things we do, a number of other roles do it in a different way. So if you're going to search for gap analysis, make sure you search for gap analysis, business analysis, or business analyst, balsamic business analyst. Always add business analyst there. So it will show you how business analysts use it and how to use it in business analysis and not another role. Otherwise, you get really confused and it has nothing to do with your role. Okay, so whole library there. Enjoy. All right, before we go into the practical part of what we're doing, any questions for me?
No
No.
questions.
Say again?
No questions.
Okay, all right, cool. All right, so before we go to the practical bits, your take home task for this class is you need to add wireframes to all the user stories that have been and are being created for Sprint 1. Okay, all your user stories need wireframes. All right, so we're the only reason, like I said yesterday, was I mentioned that the project team has to give you a bit of time because you're just learning it today. But don't use that as an excuse. If you have time this evening, go on there, start creating wireframes. Tomorrow, start creating wireframes. Um, the time is so short. You're learning new things every week, and every week you have to implement those things that you've learned, because while you're waiting, more is coming, and before you know it, you'll struggle to catch up. So now it's not too late. Catch up quickly and then start doing these tasks. So going forward, not only do you have to add wireframes to the stories being created for Sprint 1, for Sprint 2, from here on out, your user stories are not complete without wireframes. So you have to learn and learn quick, and it's very quick to learn, so don't worry about that. Now, the same way you have to refine your stories and approve them with your product owner, you also have to refine and approve your wireframes with your PO as well. And then after approval, they'll obviously have to show the same way you show them your project team. You reviewed the story with your project team yesterday for the sprint planning. You also have to review your wireframe with them. Whenever there's a wireframe, which is always, you read your story and then you pull up your wireframe and you show them and you make sure that they're all aligned, they all understand. You do that after the wireframe is approved, so there isn't a lot of discussion. This acceptance criteria, this is actually what it looks like. If, again, I want to repeat, if the information is not in the acceptance criteria, do not put it in the wireframe. And if it's in the wireframe, it must be in your acceptance criteria. I didn't say should be, would be, could be, must be. Those two things have to align. When you say the logo is on the left side, there will be text that says the logo is on the left side. When you say the footer has all these different elements, the story will be the footer has, you list all the elements, social media, privacy, whatever the footer is. Do not add any information to your wireframe that is not in your acceptance criteria. Why? Because your wireframe is the visual, is the image, is the photograph of your acceptance criteria. So they have to match. And most importantly, QAs cannot test your wireframe. It's only for information. It's to make sure that they understand what they are reading. Yeah, if a picture is worth 1,000 words, but those 1,000 words have to be there. Okay, so they cannot test an image, they can test your acceptance criteria. So if it's in your wireframe, it has to be in acceptance criteria. I'm repeating this because it's one of the areas that a lot of BAs seem to take for granted, and no one is going to accept your acceptance criteria, your wireframe, if it differs in any way from your acceptance criteria. As a BA, once you've read your user story and you've had the wireframe, no more talking. If your QAs are asking you stories or asking you questions, then the information is not complete, because the story speaks for itself. The wireframe speaks for itself. So always bear that in mind. So this is your take-home task. Is there a 4? Yes, there's a 4. So ensure all your user stories from now on have wireframes that are included for refinement and approval. When you take your wireframes for your user story for refinement, make sure they include your wireframe so everything can be refined together. Okay, so that's your take-home task. Now let's see balsamic in action. Since you don't have, oh, sorry, any questions regarding your take-home task? No? Okay. Remember the take-home task from before. So you have two now. You have your DOD and DOR that should be part of your team charter, and you have this one. So you have multiple take-home tasks. They're all part of your project, so it's fine. It's all stuff you have to do anyway. The fact that I put it here just is, I'm just highlighting it, is nothing different from what you're supposed to do, to be honest with you. So if I'd given you something extra, that would have been different. This is literally what you do. Whether I put it here as take-home task or not, it literally is stuff you have to do, both of those things. So I'm just highlighting it here to make it easy for you. All right, so we're going to go to the actual application, okay? And we're going to create a sample wireframe. I'm going to stop sharing so I can open Balsamic and share that with you. While I'm doing that, any questions? Nope. All right. Let me see. Okay. Let me share my screen again. So this is what balsamic looks like now. Like I said, it's always changing. Really like what they do with it. It's always changing. So as you can see, this is your project space. So it's your synergy team, and you can tell. Let me see. Does it have? Okay, I think some of you you haven't Ebere, Chidi, and Esther. I think you guys have accepted. So you can see your project team here. Just see the name of your project team, guys, and all of that. So anyway, this is what it looks like. Ignore all of this. These are just training slides. So I'm going to remove them when I'm done with all of this. Okay. So this is going to be what it looks like. It's going to be blank. Sorry, let me move this. So this is what it looks like once you first come on. Again, I'm going to try not to talk about what it was, because a lot of what they've done, they just rejigged it. I like when people are very proactive. They've rejigged it, they've added a lot of different things. So I'll try not to say, oh, this is how it was initially, because just a few weeks ago it was completely different. But again, once you know how to do something, you know how to do something. So I'm not stressing. The things I know how to do, I know how to do. And if they've added something new, I can just click and find out. Don't be afraid to click and find click through things and find through things here. If you make a mistake, you undo. That's it. So don't be afraid of any application or anything. Don't do that. This is here for you to play around with. So play around with it. Find out what each thing does. Delete it once you're done, and all of that. But I'm going to, because this space is shared by multiple BAs, so there are at least 4 of you on this program. I'm also going to teach you um, etiquette of the space etiquette. Yeah. So once we're done using it, I'm just going to go through some best practice things you should do, because you're working with other people and this space is not just yours. So make sure you do some of these things, so that you can work well with people. It's very important. Anyway, so we have this floating bar. This, if you click on it, it'll tell you what it does. So this is Balsamiq AI. You can ask it to do a number of different things. The thing with AI is it's supposed to be a tool to help you do stuff. Don't ask it to do something you don't understand how to do. Otherwise, you get into a lot of trouble. You can go and ask ChatGPT to write a user story for you. It will spit something out, and you're like, but no. You take it to your PO, and your PO is like, this is not what I asked you to do. Because, so understand the concepts first and then get the tools to help you make them better. But don't go and ask it to do something you don't understand. So if you come to Balsamiq and tell Balsamiq creates God knows what for me, by the time it's done, you have a headache. But you can create some basic things and then you can ask it to help you improve it. I would literally learn without this tool. I think this tool is very good for people that are very conversant with the tool. Try not to play around with it too much. If not, you may not get the benefit out of it. So just learn how to use the tool first. Okay. So we're going to ignore this AI thing. It's not honestly not for you guys. Then when you want to, let me start from the top. So this is your Balsamiq tool. It tells you all the projects you belong to. At the moment, you guys just belong to one project space. So that's fine. It'll tell you about your project. If you click on this, it'll tell you about all the different projects that are on here. Actually, give me a moment. Let me change to, because I'm using an admin setting. Let me use a normal user setting. So I can, so we can basically do, I can have the same permissions that you guys have, because that was like an admin setting thing. So let me come in as a new user. Sorry, it's booting up at the moment, so give it a minute. While we're waiting for it to boot up, anyone has any questions? No? Okay. All right, so let me go to my, so I'm part of, let me start sharing again. I'm part of your project team, but I also have additional projects. So this is another project I'm working on, but I'm going to all the projects I belong to. Yeah, so these are all the projects I belong to, and this is yours. All right, so this is a user, and I'm fine. So I'm a user, you're a user, no admin privileges. This is just my my, what did they call it, my page, right? So you can see this is actually already different, because I'm a user, not admin. Is already telling me, I'm not even having to click on it. It's already telling me what everything is. So like I said, this is Balsamiq AI. This is the UI library. So again, let's start from the top. So this is what this looks like. My project teams. At the moment, I belong to 3. This is the one I am on. All projects. These are all the different things. If I want to leave the project, don't click on leave the project. You need to be there. Import, export. These are the different boards. So your board is, I'll show you what a board is. You can duplicate your board, copy, cut, edit, move it to trash. All of that is there. You can edit. So review and comments, redo, undo, cut, all of that. copy to bitmap. Pay attention to this because this is going to come really handy. Delete, duplicate, all of that. Resize, then view. So once you click on it, obviously you can see everything beneath it and use it as you will. Okay, so at the moment it's showing me the UI elements. I can see the boards, I can see Balsamiq AI. I'm going to stay away from Balsamiq AI for you guys. Boards and UI elements are what we're going to focus on. So these are the UI elements, right? UI again is user interface. So I'm just going to say UI. Anytime you hear me say UI, that's what it is. I hope you guys have a glossary of all the new terms you're learning. Yeah, as you're learning new terms, put it there. What is the term? What does it mean? All of that. It helps you build your vocabulary for the role because every role has its terminology. So it helps you get familiar with the different terms and you start using it as well. And that shows people that you're actually part of that community and you've done the work. So these are all the different user interface elements, right? You have icons, images, templates. I'll just click through very quickly. I told you that it has a huge library. As you can see, it's alphabetic. If you click on it, it'll tell you what it does. Images, these are images that were imported. Forget about those. Templates, if you're creating something that you don't want to start from scratch, it has loads and loads and loads of templates that you can use. We usually start from scratch. It's easier most of the time. These things, sometimes it has so much detail that it's not exactly what you want. Yeah, so sometimes it's so much easier to start from scratch. These are all, so again, it has different categories. If you're creating something regarding publishing or content management, it has diagrams, e-commerce and retail. If you're working on like a mobile application, it already has like a framework for you, so you don't have to draw it. But it has so many different things, right? And sometimes you make social media, right? All the different social media, what do they call it? Facebook, all of that. It has quite a lot. So sometimes it also has a search bar. So if you're searching for something in particular and you're not sure exactly where it is, you can just maybe you're searching for an arrow. You can see all the arrows here. You can scroll through and pick the one you want. You're searching for a bar, a comment, maybe a check box. Every element you can think of, it's all, you can search for it there. All right, so let's go to our normal. And again, if you use something, it brings it to the front so you can use it again because it kind of says, okay, maybe this person is using these particular things. So again, we have our floating bar. If you hover on it, it'll tell you what it is. You have our UI. Remember, it is being shown, that UI library thing. So if you click on it, it'll show it. If you click on it again, it'll take it out and you can just focus on your main canvas. So what you can see here, the white bit is just the canvas. So you can draw or put anything you want on there. This is your box. We use rectangles a lot, so it's put that there, easy to use. We use text a bit, so like all your buttons, home button, menu, all of that. If you want to name it, like all these different things, you're creating a header. So this is the header, this is the logo, this is project. You want to create something like this, you can write the text there, put a field there. So this thing you're seeing now, you can recreate it as a wireframe and add all these different buttons as well. This is your image. Normally an image is this box with an X. But like I said, there are so many different images. So if the image is a logo, you put the box there and you just write inside, this is the logo, or this is the banner image, or this is the footer image, or whatever. So, but this is usually what we use to show images. So it can be small, big, horizontal, all of that. Your arrows are very important as well. So it kind of puts the most popular or commonly used elements on here. But the bits we're going to be interested in now, see, I've clicked on this. So if you can see the arrow, it's kind of attached it to my arrow, but I don't want to go there now. So I've unclicked it. Oh, sorry about that. I don't want it. Okay. Can you imagine? Anyway, so what was I saying? Yeah, so the bit I actually want is the boards. Yeah. So these are all the different canvases you're working on, and you see what you click on. So as you can see, this bit is highlighted here. So that's what I'm seeing here. If I click on this one, that's what will be there. Whatever you click on, whatever is highlighted, that's what will be there. And as you create wireframes, they're all arranged this way, or you can arrange them like this as well. For example, I belong to another project team that we have almost like hundreds and hundreds of wireframes because it's an ongoing project. So putting it like this, it just, I can't be scrolling. So if you just list everything, you can see what everything is. And as you can see, this is the first wireframe, the wireframe I created. It's unnamed. When you create a wireframe, like I told you about etiquettes. So this wireframe is a fan letter, but there's no name to it. So just new wireframe. Don't do that. So if you click on the plus, a new board will come out. So this, remember, this is the first board I had. A new one has come out. Once you create a board, you name it automatically, right? So it's giving you the default name. You click on rename. So this is my synergy tutorial one or something, whatever you want to name it as. When you're creating a wireframe, you know the wireframe you're creating. So if you're creating a header, a footer, a login page, about us page, whatever it is, you name it. Okay. And then you click rename. So as you can see, that's changed. So don't do just creating boards and not name them. Again, best practice. You're working with multiple people. Make sure that all your wireframes are named. All right, so let's click on this. Now, as you can see, it's the second one on here. If I want to move it to the top, I just drag it, right? I can drag it to wherever it is I want to. Once I release it, it gets to the bottom. I can drag it to the top. So you can play around with all of that. Yeah. Yeah, and then I've selected what I want and I want to remove this space, I can click there. If I want it to come back again, I'll do that. Okay, so sorry. So now I have this board on here. As you can see, there's another floating bar here as well. This is your undo redo. If you want to zoom out, zoom in, it tells you what you can see, full screen representation. And so I can see everything in full screen. I don't want that, so I'm exiting this. I click on my exit button and it's back here again. If you want to delete it, you can. If you want to add music to help you focus, you can. If you want to what they call it, you want to ask for help, you can do that as well. I'm used to working with my UI UX library, so I'll put that back on again. I'm used to my boards as well, so I'm happy with the space I have, so I'm fine. So yeah, now to creating whatever it is you want to create. So as you can see, there are loads and loads of, they're called elements, UI elements. All these things are called elements, right? So it depends on what you want to create. So I'll just start by showing you some of the features, right? So there are different ways to pull up the element you want to work with, right? So I'm creating a web page. So I want to see a browser page. Again, I can search for it, but if it's something I'm used to, I'll see it. So this is the browser window. Once you click on it, you can, it appears on here. You can see this is your web page. Stop this. Go away. Okay, cool. So, and once you click on it, the properties of this element is shown here. If you click out of it, the property goes. If you click on it, then you start seeing what it looks like, the width, the length, all of that. If you want to change anything, you can. I'll make this 250. So it's a slimmer page. Yuck. I want to undo it. I can either undo here or click undo on my control Z on your on your what they call a keyboard. Will all the same functionalities that you use for everything works here. So control Z will work here, delete will work, all of that, or you can use all these buttons on here. So I'm creating a browser page, right? And your browser page usually has a name. When you see a text on here, it tells you that you can add text to this particular element. Many of them you can add text to, some of them you can't. It is what it is. This button one, for example. So there are two ways to attach. Oh, actually, I can. Can you imagine? I thought this was one of the ones I couldn't add text to, but apparently I can. Yeah, so there are different ways to start working on stuff. If you see something you want to use, you can drag it or you can double click on it. So drag or double click and it appears on your screen, right? And then once you click on it, it tells you this property bar is for this button. Whatever is highlighted is what is on here. Let me remove this, maybe give us a bit more space. So if I click on this, you can see the property window has changed. Property column has changed. So whatever you highlight is what the property bar is about. If I want to change anything here, I can do that. Okay, so let me remove all these extras. I don't want them. So like I said, the two things that are editable here are the web page and the browser, because you want to simulate a real live web browser. So it's even giving you the URL. Okay, so what do we want this browser to? What's the name of this web page that we're designing? Does anyone have any ideas? What do you want to call it? Is anyone still there? Okay, let me stop sharing.
Yes, so I don't know why everybody's not saying anything, but we are. I was
Oh.
expecting the BAs to say something.
Chidi, Esther, anybody, anyone here?
I am here. Can you hear me?
Okay, I can.
Oh, okay.
Again, I was expecting the BAs to, but if they're not, please go ahead. I won't mind your participation if they're not participating. So yes, please, I would appreciate your participation. So what can we name this?
Um, the Velo website, maybe,
Oh,
or
so
velo.co.uk.
only thing that we're not doing is I'm not going to do your project work for you.
Oh,
So
okay.
yes, so anything to do with your project, that's not what this is. So let's play
Okay.
around with
Let's
anything.
play
It can
around.
be an Amazon store. It can be a football club. It can
Yeah,
be anything,
or a
anything
food
at all.
website, anything.
Yes, anything at all. So what website is this?
Food, let's see.
Anything
Food.
website.
Tastebuds.com or
Say again?
something. Tastebuds.com.
Tastebuds.com. So this is Tastebuds. Um, okay. Tastebuds website. So we're doing www.tastebuds.com. And once you click out of it, it'll go out. So as you can see, it's put it in the two different things. This is the name of the website, and then this is the URL. And you can start building things up that way. So again, if you can, once you see the outer what do they call it now, these don't know what these things are called. Once you see these things on the edge, you can use that to expand the website, make it as big or as little as you want, because obviously a web page has things in it. So you can either do it this way. As you can see, as I'm expanding it, you're seeing the numbers of the width changing. As I'm expanding this, you can see the height changing. if I want to see all of this, I can zoom out and see the full page and either expand it or reduce it as needed. Okay. So for our website, Tastebuds website, let's say we create, okay, before we do that, I'm showing you some of the different functionalities on here. So there are so many different, what do they call it? So many different elements that you can use. Let me reduce this and show you, just play around with some of the elements here. So there's an arrow if you want an arrow to go back and forth. And like I said, by the time you click on this, it'll kind of show you what the element does. So the fact that the text bar is on here tells me that I can write on this arrow. As you can see, it doesn't come with a text, but it has opened the text bar for me. So that means I can put double edged arrow, right? So I can write any text, like yes, no, whatever. So this is an element that is editable. I told you most of the time that when you want to show text, there are squiggly lines. So and as you can see, you can move things around. So this is your text bar. You want more text, you expand on it. You want little text. So rather than if you're creating an about us page, you're looking for the actual text of the about us. No, you just write, okay, so this page is about us. All this represents text. If you want to put maybe a head in here, you can, this tells you some text. So it's editable. I want to change this to about us page. So that's what this is. I want it to be bigger. I could do that. I want it to be bold. As you can see, the text is editable, so I can increase the font size into more, scroll down to what I want. Maybe I want it to be a 16. I want it to be bold. I want it to be underlined, whatever it is. I want it to be aligned to the center. So again, you can, this bar is too big for me. I want to reduce it. You can drag and basically move things the way you want to move things. Websites usually have a search bar. This one doesn't. So I want to add a search bar here. I can position it there. It's too big. I want to reduce it. Well, this is not one of the ones you reduce. I want the one that is, I can reduce. Okay, so let me remove this, bring this out of, yeah, I can reduce it. Yeah, so once you see those lines, you can tell that it's something that you can edit. Not all of them will be that way, but most of them are. So okay, I want the search bar to be reduced. This is a menu bar. So as you can see, it has file, edit, view on here, just like this one up here, right? So maybe I want to put like a header here. I can put it on and then it tells me I can add different things. So maybe I want a home button here. I want, you put your comma and it's separated for you. I want the login key here, whatever it is I want, I can basically do it, and then there you go. So instead of 4, I have 6. I want to center it. Okay, I've closed my about us. So I want to make this, bring it down. I'm creating something here, but I'm not supposed to. I just want to show you the functionality of the page. To be honest with you, we can create something later, but I just want to show you some of the elements and how they all work. We want our logo here, so I'm putting the logo on this side, and then as you can see, it's put the text there for me, and that means I can add logo. So I want people to know that this is the logo on there. I can make it smaller because logos are usually a bit small on the browser page. I want to have maybe a button here. What does it say? Maybe your submit button, right? So I put that there. What else do I want? I want a field, maybe a login field, maybe forgot password. So basically, you can play around with different elements. Okay, I want a checkbox here, and I can put the checkbox there. I want to have a post-it here. Maybe you want to add a note here. So you have a comment here. Please approve with PO. It's just a post-it note or whatever. Is this correct? Let me zoom in and see. Yeah, okay, that's correct. Okay, zoom back out. And then center. If you want to center, just drag it, wherever it is you want to go. If you're doing with the mouse or your trackpad, you can move things around the way you want. So yeah, there's a data grid. Let's say you're creating a table. All this data is editable, right? Let me move this over to this side. Why is it not? Okay, it's let me text out of it. Okay, then if you want to edit, you just double tap on it. So everything here is editable. If you want to create a grid, so as you're seeing, as you're adding all the things there, it's replicating. What else do I want? You want a combo box, for example. So let me text out of this. So your combo box is, maybe you're creating a website with a drop down, and this is combo. You put this down here and you have first page, second page, third page. So the more you use it, you can see what things can do. So as you can see now, this is like a drop down, right? And then let's say I want to edit the different boxes here. So right now the emphasis is on the combo box, but if I want the emphasis to be on page 2, I can highlight page 2. So it's clicking. You know, when you say, and I click on the drop down and I click on the second page, and when I click on the second page, this is displayed. So your wireframe is indicating that on the combo box, there's a drop down here, and then you click on page 2, and this, so there are so many different things you can do. Because of time, I will not be able to go through all of it. There's so many different functionalities. I think one of the things I even did here was to create. So this is what we're working on, the synergy one. I think these are different tools. So you want a big title, you want a subtitle. There's so many different things you can work on. You want to have a box that has lines separating it. The last one we didn't have any. This one does. So there's so many different things you can create. Yeah. I'm looking at the time, but we could have gone to create a page, like maybe a particular page. I won't keep you guys so long. It's almost 11. So, but play around with this. There are so many different functionalities. You can create websites, login pages, all kinds of different things. So let me show you, since we can't go through any particular, exercise because of time. I can just show you an example of some of the wireframes that people create. Like there's nothing you can't create here, to be honest with you. So again, you click on all your boards if you want to stagger. So this is one of the ones I was talking about that has loads and loads and loads of different wireframes. And yeah, so you click on it and you can see all the work that people do on wireframes. These are things that people are creating here. If you go online, you can see multiple different things. This is just one. So there's so many. There's so many. So as you can see, it's a lot. I don't know if there are any mobile responsive story here. Yeah, there are many different ones, honestly. So these are just examples of what people are doing on here. There's nothing you cannot recreate. Like I said, this is another way to represent text. So rather than saying, we know text is here, but we're not putting any text here. So yeah, there are loads and loads of different things you can do with wireframing. It's you and what your PO asks of you, whatever it is you've been asked to create. There's more than enough in the library to recreate every website you can think of. So there's nothing you're asked to create that you cannot do here. So come and play around with it and have, explore, see all the different things that people are doing, right? And get your mentors on here to help you create wireframes and all of that. And like I said, you should all have access to the page you're working on. um, Before I close, I have just a few minutes. If there's any questions, I'll let you ask questions. But I want to close with some best practice things you need to do since you're all working together. Okay. When you come on here, everybody should be able to create whatever it is they want to create on here, right? You come here, you create your new board. The first thing you do is you rename it. Like I said, don't just create a board that doesn't have a name. So we're saying we want to create the landing page, or the header or whatever it is. Yeah. So I'm here and I'm creating my landing page. And Esther comes in and sees my landing page. Please, if you did not create anything, don't amend it. Don't. Don't remove anything, amend, and you know the work you've done. So someone has done whatever work it is they're doing, unless they're asking you, "Oh, please, I have a wireframe. Could you amend it for me?" Please leave it. Don't do anyone's work for them. Okay. Um and then, but if you see something someone is working on, remember one of the things we talked about is consistency. So I worked, or Okwe worked on a header and it's been approved, and you want to work on the footer of the same website. You don't have to start recreating the header again. You can literally click on the page. Let me use something that actually has text. Click on it and right click. You can see all the drop down. You can duplicate. So I didn't create it, but I want to build on it. I want to continue working on it. Then the header has been approved. I now want to add a footer. I'm not going to start creating this header again. It's a waste of time. I may not get it the same way right. It's been approved. There's no need reinventing the wheel. You duplicate it and then you start working on it. So we know that this header, excuse me, we don't need to touch it again. The header is it. Let's leave the header alone. We're working on the footer. Footer is approved. We're not working on the footer again. We're working on the body. So you can duplicate anyone's page. But again, sometimes these things are a bit, moving things around can be funny. So what I did here, I've actually just explained it. So remember when we're exploring pages and the line was blue, you can lock the work you're doing. When you're done with it, you can lock it, right? So this purple tells me that I've locked it. So I can't click on any of these elements anymore. I unlocked it. You can group, you can group and you can ungroup. So while I was doing that, I double clicked on it and I ungrouped it. So let me undo. Control Z. So my button is there. So while I was there, nothing is working. If I want to move any element, it all moves together because they're all grouped. If you want to ungroup, you can lock the group, ungroup. So where's my, sorry. So I right clicked on this and it showed me this drop down. So if I want to ungroup, I can ungroup. If I want to lock the group, I can do that. So now it's locked. So even though let me undo. So it's locked, right? So if you're working on something and you really don't want anyone to undo your work or mess around with it or move things around, you can group them together. It makes it easy to move around, or you can lock it, or you can unlock it once you're done. So this is locked. You can anytime you do something, you can tell what's been done there. Okay. So if it's not your wireframe, please don't amend it unless the person whose wireframe it is tells you it's okay to wireframe. You can duplicate the work and continue building from there. But please respect other people's work. Don't delete anyone's work. Yeah. If you see something there, just create your own and keep working, keep building. Right. I like trying my hands at everything. Remember, there's only one BA in a project. So I know that the work is split between all of you, right? But practice everything yourself. Write all the user stories. Yes, there are 10 user stories or 10 requirements, and they split it two for all of us. I'm only required to submit 2 for the project, but I want to practice all 10 because these user stories, you find that they are different. Every sprint, you do a different user story. The more you learn how to write the user stories, the better you'll be as a BA because user stories come in all shapes and sizes. Yeah. Same thing with wireframes. Practice, practice. You can even say, I'm just practicing. So people will just know when you click on something, you can just call it double click Uzo's practice wireframe. So nobody would think that it's a main thing. I'm just practicing. Just leave me and my wonky stuff. But then when you want to submit stuff, make sure that it's properly done, well aligned, everyone's happy with it, all of that, right? So again, play around with it, right click, see what's happening, you know, play around with all of this, scroll, pick an element, see how it works, double click, drag and drop, whatever is needed, play around with it and get used to it. Okay. Because of time, a lot of all these things were done during like our practice sessions, but because of time, we're not able to do it. But get your mentors if you're still not comfortable on how to create wireframes. Schedule time with your mentors, jump on here. And again, there's nothing like you are the one doing it. So you can say, okay, show me how to do, show me, you share your screen. And then because all this, I'm just talking. My knowledge is my knowledge. I've shared some things with you, but until you get your hands dirty, you won't be able to get your head around it. But once you're used to something, it's so easy. It's so easy to play around with whatever you want, and you're used to the elements. You want your text fields, you can see all the different text fields. You want your layout, you all of it is all there. Play around with it, the different shapes, what they can do, all of that. Okay. So any questions for me before we call it a night? And then you can, oh yeah, I was going to show you how to move things from here to, so you're done with your wireframe, the very last thing before we close. So you're done with your wireframe, yeah, and you want to add it to a let me see if this is different. Okay, yeah. So you want to add it to your user story, right? So um you go to your edit button and you click on copy to clipboard. If you just click on copy, it won't do it. But if you click copy bitmap to clipboard, just click on it, Control Shift C. I just click on it. So once you've clicked on it, it's stored on your what do they call it now? Your clipboard. Then you can go to your Azure board. Sorry, just 1 minute. Go to your Azure board. Oh, I had one open already. Okay, sorry, let me go back to sharing. I have to be careful what you share. Make sure you don't share things you're not comfortable sharing. So I knew I needed to open stuff, so I didn't want to share it. So yeah, so this is a different board. It's not your board. This is a different board. You can go to, let me go to this story. So go to your story, the story you want to save it on. So this is a new one. It has a wireframe already, but yeah. So you click on where you want it, and then you Control V, you paste. So remember, I copied to bitmap, so that's how you save your. This is the wireframe we copied from Balsamic, yeah. So you paste it there and everything. I don't want to leave it here, so I'm going to delete, and I'm not going to save and close. I'm just going to X out of it, and it'll tell me, yes, I want to discard the changes and all of that. So yeah, that's basically how you do it. And then the final thing I'm going to do here, I know I said final the last time, but final really this time, is I'm going to clear this board. If you right click on it, you can move to trash. So I'm just going to move everything here to trash. What's happening? Oh, there we go. You can tell what is highlighted. So I just want to highlight everything and then move everything to trash. Empty trash, that's fine. Why didn't it all go? Oh my God. Sometimes, just sometimes, move 4 items to trash. Okay, this time it went. Oh, sorry, it took me to the trash thing rather than trashing it. So right click, move to trash. There we go. Yeah. All right, so your project space is pristine. You can come on here and learn. So that's it for me. I apologize. I think I've gone beyond my time. You can stop recording. If no one has any questions for me, you can stop recording. I'll just ask again finally. Any questions?